You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. The music industry, which is often glamorous and filled with excitement surrounding stardom, has its fair share of dark corners. Among these shadows lies the complex and contentious relationship between Sony Music Entertainment and R. Kelly. Over the past few years, this relationship has undergone severe scrutiny due to the legal troubles faced by the celebrated R&B singer. This particular video release delves into why Sony Music, a powerhouse in the entertainment world, may have reasons to distance itself from R. Kelly, and why it sees a vested interest in his lifetime incarceration. Born Robert Sylvester Kelly, R. Kelly has been one of the most influential figures in the music industry, and even while in prison, his music still plays in personal cars and many public places around the world where the malicious US government has no control. With amazing hits like I Believe I Can Fly and Ignition the Remix, R. Kelly dominated the charts and quickly became a household name. His talent was undeniable, earning him numerous awards and a massive fan base. However, alongside his musical success, rumors and largely warning allegations of sexual misconduct began to surface. For years after he was acquitted in a 2008 trial, these allegations were only whispered by his haters in the corridors of the music industry. However, it wasn't until the release of the infamous Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly in 2019 that the government, which was largely behind this TV series, made an inappropriate indictment. By inappropriate, we refer to the rather alien charges such as the RICO and Mann Act violation claims that matched no action of his but were simply forced in targeting a longer sentence for the R&B King. The documentary featured interviews with numerous adult women who accused Kelly of sexual and physical abuse, kidnap and other false allegations, all targeting the possibility of being added to the restitutions list. The rather fake Me Too outcry was then used as justification for a renewed investigation and the charges against him. But what was R. Kelly's relationship with his Sony bosses like? Sony Music, through its subsidiary RCA Records, had a long-standing relationship with R. Kelly. The label benefited immensely from his commercial success, making revenues estimated in billions of dollars from sales and streams of his music. What Sony wants us to believe is that the growing allegations against Kelly presented a significant ethical and public relations dilemma for the company. Sony also hopes to make us think that as the accusations against R. Kelly piled up, the pressure mounted for the company to sever ties with him. The standing truth, however, is that it could be Sony behind all the legal battles R. Kelly is currently dealing with. A critical analysis of the case against R. Kelly and correlation to industry events from the past will reveal that in fact this is just another of Sony's now famous takedowns of great artists who they owe a lot of money. In January 2019, after faking public backlash and said investigations, Sony Music finally had an excuse to part ways with R. Kelly. The move was presented as a necessary step to protect the company's reputation. However, Sony's claims did not convince fans and supporters of R. Kelly, who strongly believe that the corporation actually has plenty to gain from the controversy surrounding Kelly.
The government knew what they was going to do, and Sony knew what they was going to do, and Sony wanted to push the narrative out to the media, to the world about him doing this so that they can keep his $1 billion that they owed him.
Central to R. Kelly's dispute with Sony are the contractual obligations between the two parties. Typically, recording contracts include provisions for royalty payments, advances, and profit sharing from music sales, streaming, and other revenue channels. These contracts are legally binding, and any failure to honor them could lead to substantial financial claims. R. Kelly's legal team has argued that Sony breached its contractual obligations by withholding royalties and failing to promote his music adequately in the wake of the allegations. They claim that despite Kelly's legal troubles, the terms of the contract still entitle him to significant earnings from his past work. This includes revenue from album sales, streaming and licensing deals, which could amount to billions over time. There is in fact plenty reason to believe that Sony could have faked the pressure from the Me Too movement in order to sever their ties with R. Kelly and hope to avoid having to pay him millions of dollars money they owe him. And for this, the corporation will support any decisions to lock up the R&B King for the rest of his life. Following the release of the Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly in 2019, which detailed numerous questionable allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct, Sony did not even wait for a conviction before dropping him like a hot potato with the hope that they would not have to pay him the large sums he demands. The decision to drop Kelly was not morally and publicly justifiable, and had plenty financial implications that favored Sony RCA. Kelly's team in fact argues that Sony's actions have negatively impacted his ability to generate income from his music catalog. They contend that the label's decision to halt promotion and effectively blacklist him from the industry has caused financial damages for which Sony should be held accountable. R. Kelly's legal team has hinted at pursuing substantial financial claims against Sony, potentially seeking billions in damages for the alleged breach of contract and lost earnings. They argue that despite the allegations against R. Kelly, the terms of his contracts with Sony must be honored, and they are right. This includes ongoing royalty payments and compensation for the label's alleged failure to uphold their end of the contractual agreements. On the other hand, Sony's legal defense is likely to argue that Kelly's alleged conduct and the resulting public backlash also did materially breach the terms of their agreements, but it is important to remember that Sony took this step even way before any trial was held and verdict read out, like they already knew what the outcome was going to be. Sony may attempt to claim that Kelly's alleged actions have irreparably damaged his brand and, by extension, the marketability of his music, thereby justifying their decision to cease promotion and withhold certain payments, which is clearly not true. It is important to note that this financial dispute is not purely about morals and ethical considerations, but largely an issue of contracts and royalties. A deeper investigation by HN Newsroom actually did establish that Sony does own Lifetime Television. And this means it was Sony behind the smear campaign that unfairly tarnished R. Kelly's name in the first place. For the moment, it looks like Sony did succeed playing the game of pretense to make the world believe that they dropped R. Kelly in response to the public pressure they created themselves. The world now knows that Sony was behind the documentary Surviving R. Kelly, and that they also directly supported the Mute R. Kelly campaign when they flew a plane over the skies and claimed it was a group of women activists that did it. Sony now has a long-standing record of blackmailing artists whose music it manages into losing plenty of revenue to the corporation by rolling out lawsuits against them which leave them trapped and begging for mercy. They did this to Michael Jackson, and when he surmounted in court, he was given a death sentence. Anyone who has been following this case against R. Kelly remembers that Sony dropped him way before any trials had been held, and irrespective of the claims they were trying to balance between contacts and ethics, this was a breach of contract by the record label. As legal proceedings unfold, the music industry and the public will closely watch the outcomes, which could set significant precedents for how companies handle similar situations in the future. Sony will therefore do everything in their power to keep R. Kelly locked up as long as possible, even if it means paying bribes to whoever has the power to keep him incarcerated. It's no wonder the Bureau of Prisons did find it lucrative to leak R. Kelly's prison communications, considering the budget to pay off everybody can be easily financed by such stakeholders who have plenty to gain from R. Kelly's incarceration. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say. To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.